Lydia Lambert, and this is my informative speech for public speaking at Sterling College. Have you ever heard the statistic that 80% of young adults from the ages of 18 to 22 leave the church before they graduate high school? I know I definitely have. Whether that's being in church or going to a Christian college, it's something that is often talked about. Churchgoers and non-churchgoers alike all have something to say about the subject. While comparing two large-scale surveys, one done by Lifeway Church and the other done by the Darna Group, I'm going to look at exactly how many leave the church and why they're leaving the church. These two projects concluded that people leave the church because of life change and a lack of preparation by the church. So the first thing is exactly how many are leaving the church. The first group, Lifeway Research and Ministry Project, Director Scott McDonald wrote an article detailing the findings of their 2007 project. There was 1,023 subjects from the ages of 18 to 30, and they claimed to be Protestants and attend church regularly during high school, and regular for them meant 2 to 3 times a month. They found that 70% of their subjects leave church before college. The Barna Group, however, found that 6 in 10 of their subjects dropped out. The president, David Kinnaman, categorizes these different dropouts into 3 different categories. The first are the prodigals. And the prodigals are up there. It's just a little picture of prodigals. But the prodigals make up 1 in 9, or 11% of all people leaving the church. The prodigals simply leave the faith. They reject Christ, they reject the church, and they reject Christianity. The second group are the nomads. And these are simply people who are just wandering away. They're not really sure where they fit, and they move away from institutionalized church. And this made up 20% of the subjects. And the third were the exiles. And these are people who are just lost between Christian culture and society that is telling them different things. And so they're just wandering in between church culture, and society. David Kinnaman would argue that they're not necessarily losing their faith, they're just simply leaving conventional, institutionalized church. So this leads to the big question: why are people leaving the church? The Lifeway Research Project found that life change was the #1 reason. They found that 97% of people are leaving the church because of life change. Life change can be college, a new job, a move, maybe a child, a marriage, or a death. But most commonly, they found that life change was college. And the second biggest reason for leaving in the Lifeway research was a move beyond their local community. It became hard to invest in new friendships and new relationships in a new church after leaving their local community. Kinnaman would argue, and doesn't quite agree. He believes that it's simply too simplistic to just list college as that reason. He has 6 reasons for this. The first is isolation. 1 in 4 of his subjects claim that the church is too isolated from the rest of the world. The second reason is the shallowness of the church and of the faith of students. 1 in 3 of the subjects said that their faith was too shallow for them to continue after high school. And the third reason is that they don't feel the church is up to date with modern science. 1 in 3 people claim this reason for leaving the church. And the fourth reason is that abstaining from sex is too difficult to ask for students. 1 in 5 claimed this reason for leaving the church. Kinnaman found that most Christians involved in church were having sex just as much as their counterparts who are not Christians. The fifth reason is exclusivity. The people felt that the church was just too exclusive to non-Christians, and 3 in 10 found that. And the sixth reason is that people were not able to express their doubts in church. 1 in 3 were too afraid to talk about doubts, and that's the reason they left the church. Even in church, Kinnaman found that students lack meaningful relationships with older people. They lack meaningful relationships with mentors and teens alike. And this is what has caused much of the divide. So many studies out there are proving and disproving these theories. Some say 60% leave the church, some say 70% leave the church. You can find a lot of different answers. But at the end of the day, the main reason for leaving the church that these 2 studies found is the first, life change. And the second is an exclusivity and isolation